Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about why 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now this comes from hearing about the Bertrand Russell proof that 1 and 1 equals 2. That was just a massive treatise, this extremely long book where he like rationalistically proves that 1 plus 1 equals 2. He basically goes through, starts with like really fundamental axioms, and I don't know exactly how he does this proof, but I know it's a long proof, very rigorous, and it's very rationalistic as well. It starts with, he's just trying to prove it from axioms of set theory, from my understanding of what the proof is. So this I feel like is an example of rationalism in math. This is a example of problems with the way that mathematicians think about reality and think about proving things philosophically, and starting with basically proving different things. Now it's interesting to see how he can prove this from the axioms and see how different concepts of like set theory and those sort of things relate to this concept of 1 plus 1 equals 2, but that's not how we prove 1 plus 1 equals 2. This is basically a disregard for induction in the formation of concepts, and the disregard for induction in discovering things. It's trying to use deduction from very basic axioms to arrive at these truths that we know inductively very obviously, and I think that's a problem. We need to be more focused on induction. Induction is a very important tool, and that's how we really discover things in reality. Deduction, you can come up with whatever arbitrary premises you want and just struggle to if you're doing deduction wrong, you have to come with your premises somewhere, and if you don't believe in induction, those premises are completely arbitrary, and that's how rationalism works. They come up with arbitrary premises that feel right, and they deduce from there. Now that's not how you obtain real knowledge. You need to start with induction. Induction is always the primary. So now I'm going to talk about how do we form this concept of 1 plus 1 equals 2. Well, by looking at reality. We see entities in reality that exist. So let's first talk about how we form concepts. So we have a book right here. This is an entity called a book. Now we have another book, and we have all these other books up here. And now we see that there's certain similarities in them. They have a square shape, they have pages in them, they have a binding on them. Now there's different types of binding we notice, but we always notice that there's this different sort of binding around it. Now, these are different in an infinite number of ways. You see that the color is different in them. You see that the words are different in them. The number of pages is different in them. All the measurements on the side of the book are all different. Now, all of these we call measurements. That's what Rand calls them, because you measure them by different means. Like, you measure the length of the side of the book, that's a certain length, or you measure the number of pages, that's another certain length, this length. All these things are lengths that are a certain measurement about things. Now, with color, the colors are different. And these are different wavelengths of colors. But all of these measurements you omit, and you form this general, broader concept of book. So now I have these entities called book. And then you form this, and then from there, now let's say I do the same thing with other concepts. These are CDs, CD cases. Then you form the same concept with them. Now you realize that there are certain quantities of these books that you can hold. So like this is different than this, because this is one book and this is two books. So then you do the same thing with CD cases or CDs, and it's like now I have one CD case, two CD cases, and then you realize that you need to form basically another concept for the number of things that you have, the number of units of something. So this, you see, you have one, and you have one as well, and then when you combine them together, you get two. 1 plus 1. This is addition. When you take the number property of thing, the number attribute of a thing, and combine it with another number attribute of another thing, and then you have an addition, which shows you that 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then you do the same thing with other entities. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then you see that with all sorts of different things. And you can even see that you can even do that with entities in and of themselves, apart from the fact that these are both the same type of entity. So you can do it with different entities. 1 CD case plus 1 book, 2 entities. And that's how you form the concept of 1 plus 1 equals 2. And you do that with all sorts of different things, all sorts of different concepts. And then you ultimately realize, you come inductively to the fact that 1 plus 1 equals 2 by looking at reality. And it's very simple. I proved this in 5 minutes. It's almost 5 minutes now. But it's not something that you need a long treatise to prove. It's something that you discover by looking at reality and forming concepts of things. So yeah, 1 plus 1 equals 2. There you go. I just proved it for you. It's very, very simple. Just look at reality. Look at reality and discover that these things are true. Use induction. Don't be afraid of induction. Induction is how we start with discovering truth. And your senses are valid. There's literally nothing that you can do to disprove that fact. Every bit of evidence that you could use has to come from your senses as well. Every bit of evidence that you ever use in your life comes from your senses. They're obviously valid. It's your senses just tell you an interaction between reality and your sense organs. That's basically what your senses tell you, and that can't be wrong because it's simply an interaction in reality. Now you can trust that, and once you can trust that, then you can induce different things, and then you can discover that 1 plus 1 equals 2 without thousands of pages of just deductive proofs. So don't waste your time with that. Just discover that 1 plus 1 equals 2. It shouldn't be too hard. Now once you know that, you can come to all this other truth that you may have been skeptical of already. So stop being a fucking skeptic. Discover the truth. Look at reality. 1 plus 1 does equal 2, in fact. And I didn't need thousands of pages to do it. I just needed 2 books and 2 CD cases. Not difficult. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.